Welcome back to the Ignition Point, the channel for aspiring entrepreneurs. I'm Debbie Hart. I've got Sean Finnegan here. And today I have a special guest who's a close friend of mine. I met her a few months ago. She is a business coach for successful, God-centered professional women. And she teaches specifically how to balance feminine and masculine energies as a businesswoman. I loved her content so much. I have her back and teaching lunch and learns at my office at least once a month. So tell me about your journey.
And she's an amazing singer. We came in and we got a few chords from Ariel.
Yeah, I like to tell people I'm Ariel in her 40s.
I love
awesome.
that. We should sing together someday.
We definitely should.
So how did you get started on this journey?
Well, I got started doing it all wrong. Quite honestly, I think how most of us
That's how we learn,
start
right?
our journeys is doing it wrong. And I've been in the online space for over 10 years, and I did business the way we're all taught to do business: the hustle, the grind, the figure it out, the push. And I scaled my business from nothing to multiple six figures in just about 2 years, which for me was quite a feat. We'd never had that kind of money before, but I didn't have the right mindset behind it. I was terrified to fail. I was under enormous amounts of pressure to perform all the time. I was exhausted and unfulfilled and burned out all the time, but I didn't know any better. And so God was like, well, I'm going to teach you something better because we got to destroy this company, and I'll let you go ahead and do that. And so I did.
It's interesting you say that, though, because you're having all the success. You're making more than you've had ever.
Yeah.
And you're crushing it. To the outside, people will look at that and say, oh my gosh, she is writing at the highest level and she must be so happy. And it was the opposite for you.
It was. I couldn't sleep at night. I was run by anxiety all the time. I actually put on 45 pounds in 2 years because I was so afraid to fall. And my body loves me so much. It was like, don't worry, we'll cushion you. So we'll put 45 extra pounds on your butt. So when you fall, you'll have a nice cushion. I couldn't be present with my husband. I couldn't be present with our 4 children. I felt enormous amounts of guilt if I wasn't available for my clients 24/7. And it wasn't like I'd opened up an Instacare. It was a coaching company.
Yep.
So I had really, really lousy boundaries. I realized that I was really, really nervous and worried when we didn't have any money. And when we had plenty of money, I was even more worried and nervous about money. Because at that point, I didn't actually know the spirituality of money, the energetics of money. And so my business started to tank. So I just started hustling more and working harder. And the harder I worked, the faster that thing fell. And it actually ended up in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. And when the dust settled and I had this lucid moment where I was like, oh, I don't think that money was the reason why I was anxious. I think I'm the reason why I was anxious. I actually created this. So when I set down the beat up stick of not enoughness and you're the world's biggest screw up and look how you hurt your family, like I set that down and I was like, I created this. I bet you I can create my way out of it. And I really think that's when God was like, all right, she is ready. Suit her up. Let's get her going. And so I started this thought experiment with my family just to do something fun, that because I was playing a sudden death match with my business all the time, and ended up having some really, really miraculous situations and things that happened with my family, with being able to pull things to us really, really easily. I manifested a trip to Hawaii for my family of 6, and we were in a bankruptcy, and so I didn't deserve it. We didn't have the money for it, but it didn't matter. Like, there were just some really, really cool things that happened. And when we got home from that trip, I had a very clear instruction that I needed to document everything that I did in my own thoughts, not all of the masculine like mechanics of it, but what was I doing internally. I got that down on paper and I looked at it and I remember thinking, holy cow, I cracked the manifesting code. I need to teach people this. But there were actually 3 things that I didn't have down yet. I still didn't understand how money worked spiritually and energetically, because money follows feminine. Money does not follow masculine. I didn't know how to reprogram my subconscious mind yet, and I didn't understand the role that feminine and masculine energy played. So I learned all of those 3 things in like a month, because God just directed me to the people I needed to talk to. It was like the coolest thing. And within 6 months, I went from bankruptcy to $232,000. I went from a dying, bleeding out company with 6 clients to 97. I released 45 pounds in 4 months, and it was all done in ease and flow and joy. And yes, there was work and there was effort, but there was no more pressure. There was no more of the hustle and the grind. And I was like, I need to talk to women who were like me, who were high performers, who are very ambitious, but I need to teach them a higher, better way to go about this, because all we've been taught is masculine, and we need to know about the feminine.
But how did that so we heard how it changed your business, but how did it change your marriage?
Oh my gosh, it completely revolutionized my marriage. It took me out of an adversarial relationship with my husband to a partnership with my husband where we could actually communicate in really beautiful ways. And not that I had a horrible marriage, but there was definitely disconnect.
Because you were being in your masculine, so he couldn't be.
I was in my masculine all the time, which made my husband useless. Because the masculine thrives on pleasing the feminine and being useful to the feminine. I'm like, I don't need you. I don't need you. Why won't you be with me? I don't need you. Yeah. So I'm sending him all of these mixed signals, and he's like, you are so competent and you are so ambitious, and there's nothing that I could bring to the table because I was in my masculine all the time and I didn't know how to receive. But when I learned how to do that, how to get into my feminine and learned how to receive, like, our relationship has just absolutely transformed. The relationship with my kids has transformed because I can actually be present with them and allow myself to sit and to receive and to actually relax. And a very masculinized woman can't do that without a ton of guilt or without justifying it. Okay, I worked an 80-hour week. Now I'm going to give myself an hour-long massage instead of knowing, like, actually, if you lead with the massage, it's actually going to make you more focused and more productive in less amounts of time.
I think ambitious businesswomen are afraid to be feminine because they believe that gives their power away to the masculine in their lives. So how do you help them overcome that?
Well, by understanding that of the two energies, everybody has masculine and feminine energy in them, men as well as women. But of the two energies, the feminine energy is actually the more powerful than masculine energy, because the feminine energy is the being energy and masculine energy is the doing energy. Feminine is the vision and masculine is the mechanics. And we get so caught up in the mechanics and the systems and the automation and making it more efficient and more effective that we lose the vision, and we're not vision-led anymore. And so that's why I talked with so many women who were just burned out and unfulfilled, because they're like, what's the point of all of this? My favorite analogy of masculine and feminine is the river and masculine is the riverbank. If you only have a river but no riverbank, then the river just goes everywhere. There's no direction to it. There's no power to it. And it's actually quite chaotic and destructive. But if you only have a riverbank and there's no river, there's no point to the riverbank. You need both of them to work together, and they're meant to work together in balance and in alliance. And so when you understand that, I'm not talking about vilifying the masculine.
Right.
I'm talking about balancing these two energies and letting yourself lead with the feminine and live in the feminine if you're a woman, and then tap into masculine as you need to throughout the day, because the masculine energy is the get it done energy. But if you're only in get it done, but you're not in the why of the get it done, the thing that just makes your heart just expand, then very quickly all of the get it done starts losing its meaning.
No, I love that you empower the feminine in such a way that it's not feminist energy, though, because I think a lot of the men that hear about women being invited to your classes have been worried that it's a feminist man-hater thing, but it's the exact opposite, because you talk about how men have been emasculated in a lot of society and how a strong feminine can actually empower the masculine in her life.
Oh, absolutely. Because a woman that's in her empowered feminine will naturally trigger a man's empowered masculine, because feminine is a pulling energy. Like no straight guy wants to be married to a dude. And so if you're in masculine and he's in masculine, and masculine energy is a pushing energy, you're doing this all the time in your relationship.
Right. You like to say, I don't want to be married to a shorter, less hairy man.
That's right. I am not a shorter woman. I am not a shorter, less hairy man, to quote Allyson Armstrong. I am a woman. And even though business is a masculine game, and there's nothing wrong with that. We need masculinity, and we need the masculine energy in our life. But as women, we have to approach the game in a very different way. It creates connection. It creates collaboration. It creates such beautiful relationships instead of this transactional emptiness that we all have.
And I almost doubled my business since learning to do that, because I thought I had to be masculine to be in business, to be in lending and mortgages. It's a very left-brained activity, right? When I softened back into my feminine, a lot of it was just attracted. People, referral partners and connections were just attracted to want to work with that energy, and I did not have to work as hard.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And so then they're like my clients will come to me and they're like, okay, how do I do this? How do I do the being? And I'm like, well,
how do I do the being?
First you don't. Like you don't really. It's why people have these morning routines and these morning rituals, and they're like, it's one more thing for me to do. And I'm like, okay, you missed the whole point of the morning routine. It's to get you to connect to something. It's not just a checkbox. It's why I tell people you can't do a feminine activity like a meditation in masculine energy and expect to get into feminine energy. That's not how it works. But when you have an intention behind it, and when you're wanting to receive, like the whole point of a meditation is to open you up to receive. It's about connection. So when you have that as your intention, that fuels us as women. That, oh man, the being energy for women fuels us. We use that as an excuse. We have a very hard time, like, who am I being in this moment? I'm being a powerful woman. And it's like, well, you're doing a lot of action things, but how are you feeling about it? And what are you experiencing through it?
Because you were hitting your most successful months yet, and you were not enjoying it at all.
No, I wasn't. I was terrified to lose it. And I was like, am I a fraud? Like, I don't really make a difference.
Imposter syndrome is very real.
It is real. I was in this proving energy, and this is what happens as women when we're over masculinized. We get into this proving energy, like I deserve a place at the table, and I deserve this, and then we start chasing. We start chasing because we're proving, and chasing energy is masculine energy. And when you can just flip that, and when you can just embody it, like as a woman, it's just so important to be connected to your body, and most women aren't. And so it's.
And now your husband's a lot happier too, right?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Look at that face.
What makes your story so powerful is just the transformation you've personally been through. And then the second thing is Debbie has also gone through a transformation based on your training and your education on the way. And she said, would you double, triple. Since you've engaged? So I mean, that's so chasing. Powerful.
No more chasing.
You've personally been through this, so you know firsthand what it's like, and then you're helping people like Debbie and others to go through that same transformation. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, and even just her free 90-minute class that I host at my office all the time, they're constantly telling me, even just that piece, change their business and change their marriage.
And that's called what is it called? The Lunch and Learn?
The Feminine Factor.
So the Feminine Factor
is the 2-day event.
It's my 2-day event.
Got it.
We do a Lunch and Learn. It's called Success the Feminine Way.
That's right.
Or the 2 energies of success.
And and men have been invited to that as well, so that they can learn how to support their wives as they're shifting into being able to be successful businesswomen in their feminine energy, because it's not something they're taught.
No.
But it is natural.
It is. It's natural, but it's not familiar. And that's what I found with these really powerful, successful women is they have a hard time trusting feminine. Yep. Because masculine works. Masculine energy does work.
Really
it gets results. But it has such a high price tag for our inner peace and for our own spirit as women.
And your relationships.
And in your relationships, absolutely. That I got to a point where it was like, I don't care if I make $1 million a month. I can't sleep. I can't connect with my family. Like no amount of money is worth this price tag. Yeah. And so I was actually making money the bad guy when money is just here to bless your life and help you have fuller expression and greater joy. And when I realized, I just need to change my approach to this. I'm the link. I'm the linchpin in all of this. And if I can just do some little tweaks and start trusting the feminine, and that's where women go off the rails really easily on their own because they're so used to the masculine and they're actually seduced by the masculine. But when you're like, I'm just really unavailable for burnout and feeling frustrated and hitting my goals and still not feeling fulfilled, so I'm still chasing the high. Like when I bring women that are at that point, that's when real transformation can occur. It can occur really, really quickly. I teach women how to be queens instead of kings, which then just transforms their business, but more importantly, it transforms their spirit, it transforms their life. I think the greatest compliment that I've ever been given from the clients that have worked with me is that it revolutionized and transformed their relationship with God. That instead of this like unknown, detached being or something out there, they just felt absolutely supported in every step.
Every way, including business and success.
Yes.
One of my key takeaways from your first class was because I was still in massive action, which is masculine, and turning it into, as you call it, inspired action instead, which has been a beautiful.
Best way to engage, get part of your training. What's the best way for people to really start engaging with you?
Oh, the best way is to get my masterclass. Come to a lunch and learn. There's a Zoom option for that as
we
well.
We stream it over Zoom.
We stream it over Zoom. We feed you if you come live.
Everyone has got to go through this course.
Yeah. Come to my free lunch and learn, my free masterclass. Like, it is powerful, and
awesome.
And she also has a book too, The Prosperity Approach. We'll put the link to that as well.
Yeah, and I've got a podcast called The Prosperity Approach, and I think the thing that really gets women the most is understanding that money follows feminine. It doesn't follow masculine, and that's what we talk about in the lunch and learn, and that's what we really dive into in the 2-day event.
Yeah, you're gonna have to teach us that.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, it's
Thanks,
powerful.
Allyson.
Thanks for
Allyson.
having
Appreciate
me.
it.
What a
Thanks
joy.
so much.
Thank you.
If any of you watching today have any doubts that your current CPA is not helping you take 100% advantage of the deductions you deserve and helping you stay compliant with the IRS, then don't hesitate to get involved with TaxSive today. You won't be disappointed.